Hi, this is Eric from longboxreview.com, and this is Center Seat, my Star Trek podcast. Welcome to this episode of Center Seat. This episode, we are going to be talking about Star Trek Picard Season 3, Episodes 4 and 5, No-Win Scenario, and Imposters, respectively. And joining me on this quest is my Star Trek Picard Season 3 co-host, Darrell Taylor of the Taylor Network of Podcast. Welcome back, Darrell.
Yes, thanks for having me back. I've survived. I'm 50 now. I've not been murdered. I've not been killed by duplicates or anything. I'm still here.
You haven't been transferred into a positronic body, like
not yet,
like Picard.
I don't want that one. I might as well just stay in the same broken body I have. Yeah. If I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Give me the good stuff.
Well, see, now our listeners know exactly why you were talking about that in what was it, last episode or the first one? I can't remember now, but where we talked about why would we want to have an android body that was the same age as we are?
Exactly. It's like being rich and being like, I'd rather not have any money. It's like, no.
Or you can only spend so much.
Yeah.
In a certain time period. Yeah.
You're not doing that.
Well, belated happy birthday to you, Darrell.
Thank you. I got a nice, heartwarming gift of turning on my phone and then seeing Captain Shaw not curse me out, but tell me happy birthday. It was great.
Well, yeah, that is. So you got one of those celebrity birthday messages, is that right?
Yeah. My buddy Hassan from
cool.
We record DC All Stars and Gotham by Geeks. He sent me one. He knew he's a fellow Trekker, so he knew that would be something I would want. Mm-hmm. And oh my God, having Todd Stashwick, it's even though, it's a job. You do these recordings, you get paid, it's a job. But he just does such a cool thing. Like he recorded it from his man cave and he has like comics and geeky stuff behind him.
Oh, really?
As he's talking and he did a specific thing and he talked about it's your birthday and, Hassan couldn't be there and blah, blah, blah. It was cool. Like it actually didn't feel like it didn't feel like William Shatner did it. Because William Shatner would be like, oh, it's your birthday. I don't care. Check cleared. That'd be part of his whole shtick. The check cleared. So fine. You're 50. Get over it. Goodbye. That's what I expect a William Shatner birthday message to be.
Yeah. So the actor did not do it as Shaw. Is that right? It was just a nice little birthday message from him?
Yeah, he was just Todd Stashwick, but he did throw in some Captain Shaw, isms. And,
oh, cool.
Like it's him. Like, I don't know. I love Captain Shaw, man. Mm-hmm. Like I could watch another 10-part series of just the Titan under the command of Captain Shaw.
Yeah.
Where he's just giving people shit. For 10 episodes, like I would love it.
Yeah, I have not been a big fan of like prequel stuff in Star Trek. I think they go too much to that well.
Well, prequel with everything.
Yeah,
everything is prequel.
Well, that's
now,
true.
especially.
You're right. But in this case, I wouldn't mind having a Picard prequel being the Shaw 10-episode series that you're talking about.
I say just call it Star Trek Universe, right? And then
Ooh.
put in whatever thing you want to particularly do. Like if you wanted to have Star Trek Universe, the Titan, boom, for that season. Star Trek Universe, DS9, and then have people that still want to, you kind of see the worlds of DS9, that was involved in the DS9 world, and the actors that would want to come back and kind of do little
Mm-hmm.
story. It doesn't have to be that it's the end of the universe all the time. It could just be, what's Kira doing? What's Dax doing? And have it where they get together and they go on this, little adventure or something like that. And you get to see what are the politics of the Bajorans now over this many years, while Cisco is still with the wormhole aliens. It's like, just do that. Like, just do a Star Trek. Just name it that Star Trek universe, and then pop in whatever you want to have.
It's funny you say that because I read just recently a headline. I think it was from CBR, and I tend not to go to their site.
Yeah, I can't always think.
Exactly right. But the headline was that supposedly there's talk of doing a Voyager, just like they did with the Next Gen here.
Well, they are lucky. They're one of the blessed casts that has all their actors are still alive too. Like, that's rare. I mean, to have to have these shows that have been on as long as they have been, to have the benefit of actually being able to have all the original actors come back. So why wouldn't you?
Yeah, yeah. Well, if anything, Picard season 3 with the Next Gen cast has shown that there's lots of interest in these old series.
Yeah, of course there is. And hopefully they don't kill anybody from the Voyager cast before the show ends. That's first. I'm saying that, and then it's like, oh, then they kill Seven, then they kill Janeway, then they and you're like, oh, I guess not. So hopefully, if they all make it, then, and the actors are all healthy enough to still, because they're still working. So
Mm-hmm.
use them now while you got them. Like, don't wait for it to get to a point where they're at an age where they can't comfortably do it anymore. Like why? Yeah, why
That would
not?
be kind of interesting to see the Voyager crew, even though that's the Star Trek series that I've not finished.
Really? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I've finished them all. Like, just, I could never stop watching shows. I have to, my love of each varies depending, but
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
I love the world too much. I can't stop. I can't stop myself. I can't do this.
But we are here today to talk about episodes 4 and 5. Like I said, No Win Scenario and Imposters. And before we get into our discussion of those, I'm just going to give a brief synopsis of both episodes this time at the top here. And then we'll get into our discussion about those episodes. And I can only imagine that, we'll see, but I think, Darrell, most of our conversation might center around the 5th episode for a very specific reason.
Could be.
All right, so episode 4, No Win Scenario. With time running out, Picard, Riker, and crew must confront the sins of their past and heal fresh wounds, while the Titan, dead in the water, drifts helplessly towards certain destruction within a mysterious space anomaly. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
And for Imposters, caught by Starfleet and facing court-martial, paranoia grows as Picard struggles to uncover whether a prodigal crewman from his past has returned as an ally or an enemy hell-bent on destroying them all. And of course, that prodigal crewman is a notable cast member, former cast member, and returning cast member, I guess, Michelle Forbes.
Yes, love of my life.
Ro Laren. Love of your life. Really? You like Ro Laren that much?
I do. I love Ro. She would have made a great second ex-wife, because she would not have been able to stand me for long. She would have divorced me. But it would have been great. I would have, brought it up in conversation. I was married to Ro, Ensign Ro. Did you know that?
All right. Well, I guess we'll get into more of that when we
Yeah.
We don't want to jump too far ahead into
No.
the conversation, but oh wow! All right, so what generally, Darrell, what did you think of episode 4, No Win Scenario, and its very Star Trek 2 influence?
I mean, I enjoyed it. It was weird to see Riker and Picard fighting,
Mm-hmm.
uh, like we did, and so when it calmed down a little bit, and then kind of now we're trying to recoup. You kind of see a little bit more of the gelling of the two of them and their friendship and whatnot. So I enjoyed it. Like I do. I love that stuff. Like I love any kind of underwater submarine kind of like storytelling when they do that in Star Trek. I always dig that. Like that's, when they have to do like it's not just fast shooting and all that, but it's actually you have to use strategy to win.
Mm-hmm.
I always dig that stuff, those episodes.
Well, and I mean, there are several episodes that are like that throughout
Yes.
the Star Trek universe, to use your
Mhm.
phrase. But with the original series, we had I'm what's the one that is the Romulan
Oh, is it Balance of Terror?
Balance of Terror? Oh my god, I can't. I used to impress my family and friends by being able to know every title of every original Star Trek episode and be able to tell them what it was about. And now I can't do it.
No, those days are over. We're older
Yeah.
now. Our brains are not going that way.
But that's a perfect type of episode like you're describing,
Yeah.
right? And so we get, a little bit of shades of that with this. And also, like I said, with Star Trek 2, the no-win scenario, because the episode starts off with a flashback to Picard in 10 Forward, the bar, restaurant, whatever, on Earth, and these cadets come up to him and they're they see a living legend. And going back to our conversation last episode, and Shaw's
trying to eat his fish sticks.
Yeah. Yes. How Shaw is not all that impressed with the living legends, but these cadets certainly are, and so they're trying to get him to tell them some stories. And he says at one point, and I thought this is there's no subtlety on this show sometimes, because they say, or Picard says, no matter how bleak or unwinnable a situation may seem, as long as the cadets and their crew remain steadfast in their dedication, one was never without hope. And then I think we immediately go to the situation with the Titan and they're sinking. Although, how do you sink in space? I
Good
know.
question.
It's a gravity well. They do say that, but it's just like, well, it's kind of weird. But anyway,
and it's also bull crap, right? When they have the older. This is so Star Trek 2 also with this thing of Picard being like, everything's great and you'll always make it in the end, and like we're Starfleet, we're so strong and powerful together, and blah blah blah. But then something happens that's just horrible, and then he's doubting himself the whole entire time. Like they did that with the Wrath of Khan. So it's a format that they a beat that they continue to do, and I'm sure they're going to do it. They played with it in Strange New Worlds. They played with it in Discovery. They'll continue to do that in whatever Trek comes, because it works that good.
Yeah, it's such a great story beat.
It's a character thing.
Yeah,
it enables characters to shine, and the stressors cause conflict that we need, right?
Yes. So what do you think if we were to do a comparison in between Kirk in Star Trek 2 and Picard here? Who comes out on time? That whole Kirk versus Picard argument from 1987.
I mean, there's so much. I think now there's so much more similar in terms of where they are in their lives now than they were if you had asked this question like a few years ago or whatever. But they're so close again, which is why you can tell that they did a lot of stuff pulling from. We got to do a lot of deep stuff with Kirk and Wrath of Khan, like giving him a son, and like that whole giving him an enemy that he's having a harder time fighting, and
Yeah.
having it be that he hasn't been in these situations for a long time. And so, yeah, I don't know. They're not that far apart, because I mean, they both are kind of never gave themselves time to have families, right? Even though Kirk knew about his son all those years, and Picard didn't even get the chance, because both women did not think they were good enough fathers, right? They didn't have the potential to be good enough fathers. So they both found themselves in the same place.
Yeah, and that's kind of you bring that up about the father thing. We think of these two characters, these two Star Trek legends, as these really great men, and maybe they weren't so great. It's just that dissonance of thinking about them as, well, I guess maybe not them specifically, but the way they were perceived by the mothers of their sons. That you can't do this. I don't think that you're a good fit for
Right.
fatherhood.
What was that? Patton, right? We think of General Patton, and even when they did movies about him, they would show that, yeah, even though he was such a good wartime general, but then they show home life and it's horrible. Like the kids are estranged from him. The wife is, they're not really close, because they put everything into being, great at, their
What their
job.
job is, yeah. What their
Yeah.
role, what their raison d'etre is.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the thing, Picard and Kirk, right? They're dedicated to Starfleet, to the point of even, neglecting all of their personal relationships a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and I think that perhaps one difference is the they both have their crews,
mm-hmm.
but it seems like, and I don't know if this is just the way that, because of all this time has passed, both in reality and also within the Star Trek universe, Picard has this family with Riker and the others, right? Which I think is just a little different. I mean, it's still kind of a family, but it just seems like there's a bit of a distance between Kirk and the others, minus Spock.
I think
McCoy,
the gel is better. I think the connective tissue is a little bit better.
Yes, exactly.
Because Spock also was pretty, I don't even want to say standoffish, but Spock was still in his own thing too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he had a plan. Like, he didn't have kids either. His whole thing was, I'm going to, after he finished uniting, they had the Khitomer Accords, and he was instrumental in that with the Klingons. After that, he's like, I want a bigger job. I want a bigger challenge to reignite, to unify the Romulans with with us, the Vulcans. Like, so he never had time for that kind of stuff. And I think Picard is different. Like, Picard had Riker and he has Deanna, and that's they kind of held him together. Like, they wouldn't let him, because remember, what did he do? He went off and sat in his vineyard and pouted for how many years? But that they called him. That they called him and contacted him, probably visited him. Geordi also. But I feel like they did more of the reaching out than Picard did.
Oh, yeah.
Back.
Yeah.
Because they just understood. They just kind of understood that this is just who he is.
Yeah. Well, and I can't wait to get to the next episode, because since we're talking about family, there's the idea of what family is to Picard and the rest of these people.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, it's not just familial; it goes well beyond that. But we do get that scene, like I said, basically right after that, the opening where. And this is the thing I like about the fact that they're older and more seasoned in some ways, right? Because if they were younger and this were a show about them as younger characters, they might extend that melodramatic rift between Picard and Riker a little bit longer. But
Right.
because we only have 10 episodes, and
Can't do that.
and yeah, and the fact that as I perceive it, because they're older, there's less ego there, and so Riker comes to, we get that scene with Riker with the bridge crew, and he's like, "What about this? What about that? Draw power from, all this stuff he's trying." Which, nice, nice counterpoint to what I was complaining about on last episode
Right.
for the previous episode 3, I think it was, where Riker wasn't doing anything. He just seemed to be standing there trying to figure things out. But
Frozen.
at least now he's trying to do something. So I like that. But then, once he realizes the impact of what he's realizing about the situation, he goes to Picard and he's apologetic. He tells Picard, "You were right before."
Well, the joke has always been with TNG is staff meetings, right? That's always been the joke, the running joke.
Yep.
But they are best that's the difference between Picard and Kirk. Kirk's staff meeting is, I'm going to do this, and only Spock and McCoy can tell me I'm messing up, right? But in TNG, he does actually listen. And so he trusts his crew and listens to them when they're telling him something. So if they had worked together, if they had just spoke to each other, if they were both working on all cylinders, I think that they would have figured out that that there's some kind of thing we're missing, and it would not have been stuck in this situation. I think they kind of realized that after, everything was happening.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't speak to each other. They were talking at each other when Riker actually was talking at all, right? But they were not working together, and that's not them.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you get that a little bit of role reversal. With Riker being in charge, and Admiral Picard is kind of playing a support role, but he's still trying to come up with the strategy to win and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they're both doing it on their own.
Yes,
they're both trying to come up with it on their own, and that's not how they. Yeah. That's not a Picard. That's not a Picard and Riker thing. They talked to the crew, and they're not, and they didn't trust these kids. Right, because they would have if this was Geordi and Deanna and all Worf. Even though they always ignored Worf, they were like, "What do we want to blow them up?" No, Worf, we can't do that.
Yeah,
they always ignored him, but still, that they would listen, and they didn't do that. They didn't have a kind of a round table discussion on what the ship can do, what we can do. What are the things a younger crew wouldn't think to make a suggestion if they kind of thought something was up?
Yeah.
Because they would feel like, who am I to tell legends?
Well, that and their captain was Shaw.
Right.
And
you don't talk to Shaw.
Well, that exactly. I don't think he fostered a collaborative work environment. And then 2, they probably were doing a whole lot of things, on their missions.
Get in the fights, right? Their fights would have been, oh wow, this is crazy ship in the fleet doing some crazy stuff. Well, we're going to turn back and do what we were doing anyway, but we'll call and just let them know, right? That's him. His thing is to just let Starfleet know. That's it. And then he would go off and do what they do, and then they would bring in a flagship, crew to come in and assess and deal with it. Like, he's not that guy. Like, he's not the, let me look and see what this anomaly is and check it and all this kind of. That's not what he does. Shaw is he's the 9-to-5 captain. He's the one. Our mission is this. This is what we're going to do. Get it done. And we go back. That's it.
Star Trek 9 to 5.
Yeah, Star Trek 9 to 5. They can call the show that, Star Trek 9 to 5.
So something you just said reminded me of this other thing I wanted to touch on about Riker. An older Riker. Mm-hmm. He's dealing with the death of his son and his estrangement with Deanna and all that stuff. And like I said, he apologized to Picard. You were right before, because he was scared. like as you pointed out last episode.
Yeah.
But then he starts talking about in all their travels, everything they've experienced. He reveals to Picard, nothing has proven to Riker that there was anything after, and that's what, and given the death of his son, that's what was really killing him inside.
Yeah.
And he leaves that conversation with Picard saying, and this is from, I remember seeing this in particular. I may have mentioned it in our first episode recap. Riker saying, "This is the end, my friend," and I thought, well, what does that mean? Right? Does that mean Riker? There's something going on with Riker? Well, yes, but not in the way that I thought. It was just this despair that he seems to be feeling.
Right. I mean, yeah, I get it. I mean, we were survived. You think about it, they have to survive missions where they should not have, right? They have come out of situations where they've seen, this is end of the universe kind of adventures, and they were able to all come home, meaning the original, the seven. They all pretty much came home until Data got destroyed. And so he just to lose your kid, and not lose your kid to, like, we were attacked by the Borg, or we were attacked by, some, crazy interstellar war or something like that. They lost him to just to being sick, which is just, I could see him kind of feeling like, what did I do all this stuff for? Like, I couldn't even get my son help to that was just a form of cancer or something. It's like we go through all of it. Mm-hmm. It's like a fireman or a police officer, like, or someone in the military who's just, like, who's been through life and death situations. You come home and then your kid gets sick from something and passes away.
Yeah.
Like, what does that do to you?
Mm-hmm.
He's supposed to be safe. Like, if he had joined Starfleet and he lost him on a mission, I think he'd be able to deal with it better. But to lose him the way that he did, I think that's the thing he just can't wrap his head around.
Well, yeah. And then, of course, we get almost like a shift in Riker, right? Because we go, he's in this situation, no win scenario, mm-hmm. and yells at Picard from the last episode, right? You killed us all to, this is the end, my friend. And then he's like, go be with your son for as long as we have. Go be with Jack. And I thought that was pretty magnanimous of Riker to realize that about himself in just a short period of time, with all these heightened emotions and the situation and all this stuff, to realizing, oh, that was wrong, and I should be better, even though he's facing impending death. I think that's, again, I come back to this. I think Riker is the better character in this show.
Well, plus he was married to a therapist,
well, that's true.
Therapist for how many? Come on, you had to have conversations like that, right?
But I mean, despite that, they're still having some issues, right? Because he's run away.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter that she's a licensed therapist that has dealt with all these relationships. It's different when it's you. When it's your family. Like, you can't fix everything. Like, it's not just that simple thing. So. And they don't look at you it's different when being with a doctor. It's like when it's a stranger saying it, like, you have that distance. You can listen to a doctor telling you to do something. It's different when it's your wife or husband telling you to do this.
Yeah.
Because you look at them as, your spouse, or the one you're with, and you see them at their worst and at their best. But you're just not. It's just that distance is the thing that that sometimes works out better, and you just don't take your own advice.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see that. I could see him being, having that problem. Like, I could see Deanna being like, "Listen, you ain't my captain. I've seen what you did when you didn't clean the dishes." Like, it's just certain things that just come up, and you're like, yeah, they can all bow down and be like, you're a great legend. I know where the bodies are buried. I know what you've done over the years.
Well, we get a little bit of this in future episodes too,
Of
between
course.
Riker and Deanna. So I'm really looking forward to coming back to that
Yeah.
when we get to that point. But so yeah, Picard does go be with Jack, and they go to a holodeck recreation of 10 Forward. That boy, they really wanted to use that set, didn't they? This season.
Yes, they did. And came up with a reason too, right?
Yeah.
Because the first thing you think is, how the hell are you running these scenarios when you're at a deficit of power, right?
Yeah, right.
And they had to make a point of saying they treat it as if it has its own power source. And, before you start sending us letters and tweeting at us, this is what the deal is.
I feel like they've done that a few times now, where
Yeah.
like with Jack's accent, right? There's like,
Right.
okay, well, we're going to explain this to you so you don't just tweet at us all the time that
Exactly.
we screwed something up.
He went to France and he's got, he's his father's son. Leave us alone. Don't tweet us. Don't message us. Don't tweet us.
And didn't speaking of the holodeck, so what I liked about it was, the Starfleet has been in all their starships have been, and their crews have been in all these situations where they realize that, at least in the 24th and now 25th centuries, one, you need counselors on your ships, right?
Yes, you do.
From the next gen era, and
Right.
and now we get the revelation that, this is since we mentioned Voyager before, this is my question for you, Darrell, since you watched it all.
Mm-hmm.
They make a reference to Voyager about the battery, the separate power situation for holodecks, because Starfleet realized that the crew in dire situations needed that comfort.
Yeah.
Picard does 10 Forward because that's a comfortable place to him.
For sure.
But other Titan crew members join them in the holodeck.
Right.
And so I was just wondering, did that actually come up in Voyager, or is that just a nice little tidbit that they threw out?
Yeah, they had. There was a point in the series where Tom Paris, pretty much created this bar. He was like the American of the show, right? Mm-hmm. And he created, they had him have where he likes vintage cars, and he, they did the whole thing. They do the whole thing with him because he's a pilot, right? You can't be any more, in terms of American as that, in terms of how they created that character of being, hot rod, fighter pilot, all this kind of stuff. He's into all that kind of cool stuff. And so, yeah, he created a bar where he put it all together, and it was their 10 Forward kind of thing to have this bar where they would all go to. Sometimes they would have scenes where they would, it would be on and all the time, and they would have, crew members would be able to just go there and hang out and, decompress over time.
Yeah.
Because Janeway kind of knew we need something like this. Like, you can't just
exactly.
You can't just be a regular 10 Forward, kind of situation. We need something else. Mm-hmm. You need a sports bar or something sometimes, or a tavern or something. You need it. You just need that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And just a little detail, we find out that Jack, not a big wine fan.
No, of course they had to do that because it's your father's thing, right? You gotta, you gotta have some kind of thing where the son is like, I'm not into that. That's his thing.
A little bit later, since we're still talking about the 10 Forward stuff, so I mean, Picard at one point just directly asks him. He's so direct and to the point. He just asks Jack, "Why did you never seek me out?"
Yeah, that would be a question I would want to know too.
Yeah, I just that little bit just reminded me of my own dad, because he's direct like that. He'll just just ask me a question, but I love that about him too. So right. I thought that was kind of cool. And then we get that wonderful scene because we kind of get more of the flashbacks to that earlier time with Picard and the cadets,
right?
And now it's transitioned into basically Jack. I think it was Jack that asked him to tell him a story about something, and he was telling the story of his namesake, Jack's namesake. Mm-hmm. Which I thought another nice little bit. Picard tells his son that he would have wanted to name Jack after Beverly's first husband. So I thought that was a nice little touch.
I know, which is still so weird, right? It is a
But we do.
little bit.
Well, I mean, because I think is it weird to us because all we know of Jack Crusher Senior is that he was friends with Picard and he died.
Well, he wasn't just friends; they were best friends.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be? I mean, to think about it, like, wouldn't it be kind of weird? Not to say it couldn't happen because it could, but wouldn't it be kind of weird to get into a romantic relationship with your best friend's spouse? Kind of weird, a little bit. I mean, even though it's over many years, but still, like, it would kind of be. There's got to be some thought on that every now and again. Like,
yeah.
You met her unless it was something where you were friends with that person first, and then.
Oh, and then he became best friends with Jack.
Right.
Yeah,
That's different.
Yeah, that would have been a nice
But
little
you
dimension.
met her as your friend's spouse.
Yeah. I understand. It does seem kind of weird, but they do their best to try and work through it.
Oh yeah, well they had the year. I mean, they had all those years on the Enterprise, so it's different. Like that's a different thing. Like he got killed. It was he was killed in action, but they also had that whole thing of being in close quarters and working together day after day after day, and of course that can change, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now you have more experience with her than you even do with Jack.
Oh, that's true.
He's been gone that long.
Yep.
So that's something that can change, right? That's the thing that when you're still in contact with them that long.
Well, but I like the story that Picard is telling his son about his namesake, or Jack's the namesake. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Because it plays into the plot later in the episode, but
it does. Mm-hmm.
Which again they're really just like we were talking about with the accent and whatnot. They're making sure to point out certain things so that a later thing will make sense. So
yeah, it's easy that Jack is dead because like you can throw things into his character.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's easy.
But it was a cool little story about how Picard and Jack survived this situation, and then this is the point. The reason I want to bring this up is that Shaw suddenly walks in to 10 Forward,
hobbling in,
yeah, and starts to starts to take the piss out of Picard because he's like he was telling his experience during. The Battle of Wolf 359.
Yeah, well, Shaw is honesty drunk, right?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know that he needs the drunk part. He's just.
Well, he's quick to say something anyway, but I still think he would not have said it the way he said it if he had not already been in his cabin drinking up a storm.
Well, yeah, he did start it by saying that the drugs that he was given for the pain were really good.
Exactly.
But yeah, he just goes through, and it's I love the actor.
Me too.
He did such a great job at that little scene, and just the emotion that's playing on his face as he's reliving that scenario that he went through, where the ship, I forget the name, the Constance, was it? Is that what?
Yeah, USS Constance. Yeah.
So they're all down on the life deck, and there's not enough life pods, and this lieutenant just shows up and starts pointing, you and you and you, and he gets chosen, and just that the anguish that he felt at that time and still feels all these years later, dealing with that.
Yeah.
And Picard just thought he's just sitting there taking it. Because he feels like he deserves this because he wasn't able to fight back against the Borg and became Locutus.
And it's so interesting to have a situation where usually in a story like this, where you were chosen to survive, the character would say to themselves, I am going to be the best, whatever they are, to earn for the ones who didn't get picked
Mm-hmm.
to earn that life that I was given. Like I'm going to do, the best, meaning I'm going to risk my life most of the time so that I could, help the most people. Shaw was kind of more realistic because that realistically, we don't all, if your life was saved in a situation and others were not that you knew, not everybody comes out of it going, now I'm going to be, super into, like I'm going to just be a super cop or super doctor or, like whatever it is that you do, I'm going to be the greatest at it to make up for what
Mm.
happened. That's not
Yeah.
generally kind of how we go. It kind of goes with, you have survivor's guilt, and either
Mm-hmm.
you deal with it or you don't. And that survivor's guilt can do a lot to burn the good parts of you out, and it did that with Shaw. This is
Yeah.
why he is so
Yes.
angry and standoffish, because I think he felt to himself, why make friends with people when you know that they could pretty much be put in a situation where he has to make a choice like that, like they had to make.
Well, and it going back to his first appearance, and we talked about him and how arrogant he was and
Hmm.
dismissive, right? And this all makes sense now. It's not just him looking at these the legendary officers of the Enterprise D, and he pales by comparison. No, it's because he has dealt with this kind of like Cisco did in Deep Space Nine.
Yes, for
The very
sure.
first episode, and he was antagonistic to Picard as well because for the very same reason. And of course he lost his wife.
Hmm.
A little different situation, but it's just like, it was just so good.
Yeah, you're watching these people come, all seven of them came back, right? Out of that terrible situation. Your immediate, everybody has you have your immediate circle when you're serving, right, on a ship. His immediate circle didn't come back. They didn't all come back. But he has to look and see Picard with Beverly and
Oh
Deanna and all
yeah,
of them,
yeah.
and you say to yourself, well, how, you're the cause of it. Like you
Well,
were the
yeah.
cause of a lot of this.
Why
Why is
you?
it? Yeah, why you? Why do you guys get to come back?
Mm-hmm.
Because you were the ones who kind of kicked the hornet's nest in the first place. Like if you really look back, if he was one of those people that look back into Starfleet's story,
Yeah, it was Picard's fault that they even encountered
he
the Borg when they
dared
did.
Q, right? If
Yes,
it wasn't
yes.
for them daring Q, they would never have gone into Borg space.
Yeah.
So I get it. I get the resentment.
And this is why at the end of that scene, Picard leaves.
Hmm.
But he's taking it all in. He feels like he deserves it, like I said. But we get another Shawism.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
gets the greatest lines. I'm going to continue to say that because he says, "Forgive me." At some point, asshole became a substitute for charm.
yeah,
That guy is so good.
yeah. He's not only like, he's just not a jerk to people, and he thinks he's great. No, 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 no. Shaw, he has a self-loathing
Mm-hmm.
on top of being a jerk to people at times.
Yeah.
So it's a nice little combination of, you can get some meaty stories out of somebody like that.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh yeah. During that story, though, I'm just going to continue with Shaw here
Hmm.
for a second. He talks about how he was a grease monkey from Chicago.
Yeah.
He's a former engineer,
Hmm.
and that plays into the plot later because it turns out that in order for them to escape the gravity well of the nebula, so there are these pulses that are going, these bioelectric energy pulses that are occurring, which Beverly is tracking. And I want to talk about that in a little bit too. But turns out that the plan is to make use of those pulses, and the only way to do that is to open up the nacelles. Oh, I forget what they call them now. These,
An exhaust manifest or something like
yeah,
that?
manifold or something like that, right?
Manifolds or something, yeah.
And only Shaw can do it because it's an older ship. Even he even says this, even though it's a new version of the Titan. It's still
Right.
based on
It's retrofitted.
older. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. It's retrofitted. So only he, apparently on the entire ship, only he can go in there and bypass the manifold locks or whatever. And so I like that that came into play.
Well, we get into the Jordyisms of it, right? Because remember when we had what's her name? When she was the person who built the Galaxy class starship. He fell in love with her.
Oh yeah.
What
Yes.
his thoughts of her. Remember they had the argument conversations of, like he would, why did you bypass this? And why did you, and it's like, because you learn on the fly that sometimes you have to do these kind of workarounds and stuff that you would only learn when you're in a situation. And he had to do a whole bunch of those things.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Shaw. Like, it's something these kids wouldn't know this because what experience have these kids had so far yet? Like, they just got out of the academy.
Yeah, but come on, I mean, the chiefs of their divisions, the chief engineer shouldn't be like an ensign or a lieutenant, right? It should be somebody with some experience. I would hope anyway.
Wow, look at your IT persons and any kind of office situations. You have some IT guys that is not always guys, but some IT persons, people who can figure something out that way and kind of, they remember things. They remember, how we used to do it. They remember the systems and they can kind of plug things in and do kind of certain stuff. And there's others that they follow strictly the instruction manual and that's it. They might know it, backwards and forwards, but if there's something that doesn't fit into that window, they just look at you and go, unplug the computer and put it back and turn it back on. That is basically what you get.
Well, unfortunately, they couldn't just unplug the Titan and turn it back on because
it worked that way.
It didn't quite work, but
right.
Okay, so let's see here. The other thing that we should probably talk about in this episode before we get back to those bioelectric pulses is the changeling situation.
Yeah,
because we do get a couple revelations, or at least one major revelation. So Seven knows that there's a changeling on board. She tells Riker. Riker's like, keep it quiet. You investigate and go get the bastard. And that was right after the scene with Picard. I'm like I said, Riker's finally doing stuff. This is great.
Right.
but Seven goes to Shaw, which that was a great scene, wasn't it?
It was. It she's trying to. You could tell that she's a lot more better adjusted than she was season 1 and 2. But this was better, more of how Seven. If you came up in the experience that she had working with Janeway and Chakotay and the rest of the crew, you would learn to, even though you don't get along, because that's one of the things I liked about Voyager is like her and B'Elanna, they did not get along. Like they never, in fact, they never became friends on that show. Like, but she learned that you still can work with people. Like they're still valuable. There's still something very valuable with cohabitation and learning from other people. And it's kind of a thing you kind of get. She kind of gets it. She could still continue to be, even though Shaw was such a jerk, to ignore him. Because he's done. Like, Picard and Riker have taken this ship over. It's their baby now. They're doing anything they want to do. It's like he has no say-so pretty much. But she kind of gets it to where it's like, I could give him a lifeline. I can put a hand out. Like, even though I don't like him, the things he's done, he's still valuable. He's still a valuable part of the crew. And so she turns back and puts a hand out to him to kind of reconnect. And that's something from growth. That shows the growth of Seven. This is what Janeway saw in her, and that's why she suggested that she should go and join Starfleet. I think this is what we're seeing without them saying it. We're seeing it. So I like that about it.
Yeah. But the fact that she goes to Shaw and needs, because he knows the crew best,
Right.
and so she solicits his advice. I just thought that was, given their current state of affairs between each other, but she realizes that the greater good requires her to make the sacrifice and go, hat in hand, so to speak, to Shaw, right?
Right. Even though she didn't have to.
And this is where I was thinking maybe Shaw should just take over being captain again, because at least he's coming up with ideas and plans and recommendations and whatnot.
Yeah,
even though
he doesn't have baggage of these things. He doesn't
right.
have all this stuff to be working through. Like that's not his thing. Even though I would call a little bit like, a little weak on the story. Changeling don't have to. That was Odo that had to always.
I was going to ask you about that.
But some of the other, it depends on the others. Like some of the changelings, some of them were better at it than Odo. Odo was.
Yeah. Well, they were better at rearranging their molecules or whatever.
Well, there's a point where Odo starts to where he's been into the link. He's been able to be a part of the Great Link, and from there he's learned other experiences. And there's a part where Odo says, "I don't need to use the bucket anymore."
Oh, okay. I forgot about that.
There's a part, when we get to like season 6, I think 5 or 6, where he says he starts to have things in his room because they can mimic those different things. Like the more shapes and stuff that are around him, the more he can practice. And that's experiences he got from being in the link. Like he's seen them do all these amazing things that he never thought he could do because he's been so limited by only being around solids. How is he going to learn how to be a changeling if you're never around other changelings? Mm-hmm. So he doesn't need. And that's why I heard that. I was like, what? No, he doesn't need the bucket. If they're experienced changelings, they don't need the bucket. There's different ways that they can turn. They can, they don't need to do that.
Yeah, and we're kind of poking holes at the whole bucket thing.
It doesn't destroy it. It's just a thing.
But it was a nice shorthand to get a 7 on the hunt.
Yeah, we only got 10 episodes. We don't.
That's very true.
All of this. Like you have to find. They need they need something for her to find, so that she could, somehow find this changeling.
Even though it turns out to be for naught because the bucket gets destroyed.
Exactly.
It's like, well, what was the point of that besides?
We needed goo. That's what it was.
Residue.
We needed residue.
I thought that was a great word. But we do get, speaking of changeling, we do get the confirmation, or at least the revelation, that Vadic herself is a changeling.
Yeah.
And we get that scene on the Shrike where she cuts off her hand, which then turns into goo, which then turns into this face.
Yeah, which is still crazy to me. I'm like, but is it she's all changeling, or is it the changeling was it mingled with her? This thing mingled in.
Yeah, it's not quite clear because, okay, so she's having this conversation. She's reporting in basically to what appears to be her superior.
Right.
And you at first I was thinking, well, this is just another, a higher up changeling in the resistance.
Mm-hmm.
But it says it makes a specific reference to your people.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't seem like that whoever it is or whatever it is that she's talking to is also a changeling.
Right. Something. There's more to this than that.
Yeah. That out of everything in this episode, I think this is the most intriguing part of the mystery that has been introduced so far. So it's like, what is going on here? But the actress Plummer, she's so good in this.
I know.
Because we've seen her be a little crazy, in the way that she
little crazy,
but menacing, but in this scene she is hesitant. she is almost fearful.
Yeah.
And not just of the superior person thing, but if she knows that if she goes into the gravity well, that she could very well die.
Yeah, she does not want to end her existence yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but whatever is going on here, whatever hold this other thing, this face,
It's scarier than
yes,
even death.
yes. As I believe it said, you all of you are expendable.
Yeah.
Get the asset, which is Jack.
Interesting though. But it's like, whoa, what is worse than them already? Like, what is it?
Exactly. Yeah. At this point, I was thinking, oh, it's the changelings, so we have to defeat the changelings, and and all that stuff. But it's like, what? There's something else going on here,
Mm-hmm.
and I like how they're building that mystery. It's like, well, a bunch of people want Jack. Well, who wants Jack? Well, Vatic does. They're pirates. Oh no, wait, it's changelings. And she's a changeling, and oh, there's this
Right.
other thing.
Like, what?
But first, they have to get out of that gravity well, and they figure out that, or Jack figures out that's why I wanted to come back to this. It's not because when I first saw Beverly at the towards the top of the episode, counting down those surges,
Mm-hmm.
I thought, oh well, I've seen this a dozen times on The Next Generation. Somebody notices something, and then they report to the captain, and then they
That's
figure out
right.
how to deal with it, right?
That's right.
And I'm like, oh, Beverly's she already has an inkling of something here, and she's going to mention it, or she's going to come up with the idea. And because I knew then that it'd be easy enough to somehow channel that energy to get them out.
Right.
It didn't quite pan out the way that I thought, but
But
still
you knew that it was the genesis of it is when someone does something. Yeah.
if you've seen enough of these Star Trek episodes, you could kind of suss it out yourself.
Yeah, somebody's going to figure something out, and it's a piece of the puzzle that was missing. That's
Exactly.
what you
Exactly.
know.
But in this case, it's Jack who thinks of taking advantage of the bioelectrical surges and basically.
Well, Marcus did it. Marcus was able to figure something out, and that's what I mean by the beats. They're repeating beats from the Wrath of Khan, because Mark, you got to have it where, well, damn, you're Kirk's son, right? You should come up with something amazing. And we get the same thing. You're Picard's son. Like you had to know something.
Mm-hmm.
They have to show us somehow that he's Picard's son.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because he's able to figure this out, and they ride the waves out, and of course they come across the Shrike,
which Voyager has done. That's kind of how they got they got through the conduit to come back to the Alpha Quadrant. Is they rode the wave. As soon as they said ride the wave, I was like, huh? Oh. I'm surprised Seven didn't say something about that. Like,
yes, exactly. There you go. Well, I hear I was giving Jack a lot of credit, but maybe it should have been somebody else.
They probably had to choose. Like, we did a lot of Seven.
Well,
Seven is cool already, but
yeah,
it's a new character, so we had to do something.
Well, they also got to show how special he is. Besides all this other stuff that we'll get into later, but we get a new Riker maneuver, I guess. With, we already saw the Shrike throw a ship at the Titan,
mm-hmm.
but Riker turns the table and throws an asteroid at the Shrike, which I thought was pretty cool.
Right, it was.
But then this is what I loved. So the surges, of course, they are. It's a birth. It's a symbol of birth, because this nebula is a womb for this new life form, or maybe an existing life form, because don't they look like the creature from Encounter at Farpoint?
That's what I was thinking, but then I meant to go look up to see if they had if that's what they were, but I didn't go to check.
All I did was look at pictures of both, and they look very similar.
They look similar, yeah. And the little bit like the whale, the little thing that was feeding on the Enterprise. They wind up. There was an episode when they almost. We talked about it when he met the engineer, the woman who had built
Oh,
the
Leah Brahms.
Leah Brahms. And on that episode, remember there was a creature that they had never, they encountered, they got a chance to encounter, and the creature wound up being drawn to them, and they wound up accidentally killing it. And they had to wait for the child, but then they had to help it give birth to this child, and that child needed energy, like it was built out of energy in space.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking of that one also. That I was thinking of that creature because I can't remember the name of that creature either, if they even named it. But it was still a creature born in space, of space, who got power and from they drew power from stars and all kinds of different things. And it's like it made me think of that. Like this was a collapsed star, right? That they were inside of, like some kind of nebula. Something had collapsing.
I don't think it's clear.
It's not clear, but I think they mentioned something like it was a collapse of something of
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's gravity well, we immediately think of, black hole or
a dwarf star,
a dense star or something. Yeah. But I thought it was really neat that, one of the missions of, Star Trek, then the crews of the Enterprise and other ships is to seek out new life. And we get a little bit of that. And so that was a nice callback to their former lives and missions. So I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah,
Plus, like I said, the at least the similarity to the Farpoint alien, which they also mentioned earlier in the episode, because Picard's like, right, Farpoint station or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
He did.
So, and then another revelation here as we get to get through at least my notes for this episode is that we find out that Jack actually did go speak to Picard, but not in the way that Picard would have hoped, because Jack was actually at 10 Forward at the time that all those cadets and whatnot were asking for stories, and he asked his dad, why didn't you ever have a family? Essentially,
Picard was like, I don't need any family. I can't stand children, and I don't need them, and you're nothing to me. And like it was funny. He was doing all that. It's like, I don't need kids. I have Starfleet. And it's like, ooh, did you just say that in front of your kid?
Yeah. So now we know why he actually didn't seek out Picard more. So.
Yeah, he hurt his feelings.
And then at the end of the episode, Darrell, we get more of Jack and the red door and the voices. And I turned on the closed captioning so I could I could read exactly what was being said. And the voices he's hearing is saying, "Find me and together soon," and the closed captions said it. I heard it, and this is why I turned it on, because I thought it was Beverly's voice.
Yeah, it did sound like it a little bit.
And the closed captions confirmed it. So I'm like, what is going on here? And so immediately I think Beverly, there's something going on with Beverly. So now, at first I was like, well, maybe there's something going on with Riker because of the future or the trailer for the upcoming stuff, right? And now I'm thinking maybe there's something going on with Beverly. How did you take that scene?
You know what I thought? Because the only thing I can think of with the red door and the tendrils that are following, they look like veins,
right?
Like from the womb, like the connective tissue from the womb. And I that's what made me go, he's hearing Beverly's voice because they're trying to go with it being something maternal, almost like, find me, like you're missing that piece of yourself. So you think it's the mother, it's the voice of his mother, because would be the first thing you would think of, right? For him, because he's only in his 20s, right? He's never been married, and he's probably never had a real close long-time relationship and stuff like that. So if you're hearing woman's voice, it would be, you'd think your mother at first, because he doesn't even know what the voice is, right? But I think it was seductive in terms of you want a mother's love kind of voice. You know how they do that, like we've seen in movies where they do that thing where it's a child and they hear, like, at first you think it's your mother talking to you, and then you find out it's not. It's just something, it's something trying to goad you into a sense of being comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's what I kept thinking when I saw this is the only thing I could think of, because I couldn't figure out anything else and other than that, is that it's supposed to make me think he's from the womb or something.
Ah, okay. See, I took the tendrils to be like neural
Oh, okay.
connections, right? Because like, in the end credits stuff that they show, they're showing certain imagery that like one of the positronic brain thing, although it turns out that that's something very specific, but that's why I was thinking along those lines. Plus, it seems to give him a headache when he gets these visions and whatnot. But the more important thing is, where's this coming from? What's the
Hmm.
origin of this? What does it mean, right? And I was wrong. The whole Beverly thing, according to the closed captions, that was actually from the start of episode 5. And she also says, or the voice also says, "Come home, connect us." And that's where I was. That's where I was like, "Connect us, come home." That's where I was thinking, is Beverly a changeling all this time? Is
Oh,
that
I
going to
I
be the
never
reveal?
thought that. I was just thinking like the Great Link was like, it was kind of a, like how they used to call Odo, like
Uh
as it
huh.
got closer into the series, as they got closer to the Dominion War. I kind of, and again, the way that it was such a weird, right? Like at first she's like maternal towards Odo, and
Mm-hmm.
then they throw out that they were having sex, but in a changeling, the way that a changeling would have
Oh,
sex. And
that's
it's like,
right.
whoa, that's a change. I didn't see that be the case, but that's what made me think that too. That's probably why I thought that way, is because of, once it was revealed that it's the changelings, that there's like a great link. I kept thinking, like there's some kind of, connective thing, because that's how they would call Odo, like, come home, like, come, this is where
Mm-hmm.
you belong, come home to us.
Here's the big difference, I think, between what we've known of changelings from Deep Space Nine and now this is that episode 5 opens up with Jack being in a vision, but is I took it that it was like he was being controlled, like he wasn't himself,
Right.
and
That's what it looked like. Yeah.
on top of that, he's wearing a Starfleet uniform in that opening scene.
Right.
And then later in the episode, Seven gives him that uniform. And so is this whatever this connection ability, whatever red door vision stuff, does it give him visions of the future?
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. That's the thing. I didn't. It was throwing me. That was
Yeah.
one of the many things that threw me when I was watching it. But
He things don't quite play out as it did in his vision at the beginning of the episode, but there's still enough similarities there where it's like, what is going on
and there
here?
was a push. But then you know what? I kind of told myself, he is under pressure because his father is Picard is Starfleet, right? That is what he is. Plainly, he is Starfleet, and there would be a kind of a conflict of, do you want to connect to your father? And if I connect to my father, that meant I would have to be in Starfleet, because that's the thing that Beverly kept throwing at him, is that I don't want you.
Oh, so it's a manifestation of that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
Uh,
but given what actually happens later, it's like that seems
yeah, after
really
this, it's
coincidental then.
yeah, yeah. But at the time of watching it, I was thinking, well, maybe it's the pressure of,
Yeah.
he's battling a part of himself. Like, I want to be, as much as he says he doesn't want to be
Ah,
part of his father's life.
you took that to be more symbolic than I did. That's great.
I did because I got it because I kept thinking again. I kept thinking of the Wrath of Khan. I kept thinking of Marcus being a scientist versus just like Marcus is a physician, kind of more than he is anything else because of his mother. And that was the thing. She took Marcus to make him, to bring Marcus into her world, just like Beverly wanted to bring Jack into her world more than she would, more than being part of, there was the fear that he would run off and want to have adventures, with his father. And she didn't want that. There's a part of her that didn't want it, a selfish part that didn't want to lose him to that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that made me think of it. Like that's the struggle within him is, I don't want to be Starfleet, but there's still that part of me that wants to connect with my father because he is a part of me. So that's what made me think all that stuff.
No, I think that's a great interpretation of the vision that he had. But I think that how about we do this? So let's talk about Worf and Rafi because they were totally absent in episode 4. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about their things just a little bit, and then we'll get because the meat of episode 5 is Rolaren, and I want to really get into that.
Right.
So like I said, Worf and Rafi were not in episode 4, and when they showed up in episode 5, I was like, oh, I missed them.
Oh yeah.
It's nice to see them again. So that was
exactly.
I love those two together, and
Me too.
We get let's see, they encounter what was his name? Kryn?
I think that's what his name was.
The Vulcan gangster, a Vulcan gangster.
Who knew, right?
So his when again it's like they're anticipating. Well, Vulcans wouldn't do that, right? From us fans. And so they had the Vulcan say this: no utopia could exist without crime, and therefore an organized crime syndicate is logical.
True, and plus we look at Spock's brother. He was full Vulcan, and he was all over the place. Being full Vulcan, like you could. Plus, we had Vulcans that were part of the Marquis. You can make yourself do anything if you
logic
explain
yourself
it away. You can logic your way into doing a whole bunch of horrible things.
I just thought it was really cool to see Vulcans being something other than science officers, essentially in Star Trek.
Well, that's the cool thing with when you open it up a little bit and we visit other, avenues where you're not just visiting other worlds kind of thing, I guess, when you're not exploring, because they have not been exploring. And I think that gives you a chance to kind of see how diverse, even within different races, how diverse they are in that race. They're not just all, Spocks and Tuvoks.
Exactly. They're not monolithic.
Yeah.
As well, although, I guess you could say out of any of the Star Trek races, Vulcans probably are the most monolithic.
Sure. Well, what we've seen, yes. Right. But then you think about it, it's like, but still, you think about it, a Vulcan can say, I don't want to wait 7 years to be in a relationship with someone. Maybe if I want to be in a relationship earlier than that, maybe if if you go down the line, you can tell yourself like, Spock's father, Spock's father had a type. He loved Earth women.
That's true.
Now he can tell us, which he has, that, it was for research. That's why I got married and had children with all these women. Research. It's all research. Right? It's like, no, bullcrap. You just love some Earth women. And it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I love Earth women.
See, that's one of your Star Trek universe movies. You do a 1950s style B movie where the Vulcans are coming for Earth women.
Well, remember the Earth, there was something I loved it, and I wish we could have sold more in this relationship. The Vulcan who was trying to get weapons for the Maquis, she kind of was digging on Quark. Like, I kind of want maybe, that's a new experience. And I've been with a Ferengi. Like she was up with it. She was like, "All right, we can go to dinner." Like he's trying to do all this flirting around the bit, around the stuff. And she's like, "Oh no, no, no! Like I get it. You want to get together? Yeah, yeah, we can do that. But I got to get these weapons first. Like you're beating around the bush. I don't have time for all that." Like she's blunt. I think I like that. Like
Eminently logical.
yeah, she's like because that's how you would be, right? Your logic, you would not sit there, trying to go through a whole thing of should I date this guy? Should I not date this guy? What are the pros and cons about being with him? What are not? No, Vulcan would be able to figure those things out quick and be like, he's either yeah, I'll hang out with him a night or not. So I kind of like that. Like I would like to have seen more Vulcans in the world, in the Star Trek world, because you get all types, right? You get Vulcans that, with logic would tell themselves they can do all types of stuff. Being a Vulcan. I would love to see a Vulcan cop, Vulcan, someone in the sports, because we have Vulcans that were in the sports and stuff, and like all entertainers that are Vulcan. Why not?
Well, we do see a couple Vulcans on the Titan. One, of course, is apparently the science officer. So we get that same trope. But we do in the previous episode in 4, in the 10 forward scene, we see a Vulcan. We see a Vulcan consoling another officer. So
right.
But my point is, it was nice to see a Vulcan behaving differently than what I've seen a Vulcan behave. So that was cool.
Yeah, because we got the most. Tuvok was a mess romantically. Like, did you ever watch the episode where you find out his background, where he fell in love with a female alien that did not love him back?
Oh no!
He was. This is during his puberty days, and he got so caught up into it that they had to take him aside and be like, "You got to chill. Like this is ridiculous." And he was like, "I hate logic," and it was a whole thing. And he had to go through a situation where they were. His backstory. The story was he was having flashbacks of a situation because there was a woman. They were trapped on a planet where time moved faster than it did outside of the planet, and so they were stuck on this world with this woman, this alien woman, and she grew to kind of have feelings for him, and so Tom Paris was like, "Go for it," and he's like, "I'm married," and he would not cross that line, right? And so he thought back on that whole situation of when he was in love with someone who did not reciprocate, and there was a whole thing. And he kind of, he was attracted to her. There were things. That's the thing. Like Vulcans can be attracted to other, beings. It's just that we always get the stunted Klingon. I mean, the Vulcans who pretty much tell themselves that they're that they're monks or something, and they can't be with anybody.
And if Strange New Worlds has showed us anything, is that what we thought of Vulcan sexuality is completely wrong or different.
Well, we got a little bit of that where she almost tried to get Spock killed because she wanted to be with another Vulcan.
Oh yeah, that's well. So but again, that was from that was a standpoint of logic. So.
Well, listen, you can tell yourself logic. I like pleasure, right? Logically, I like to.
I know that. Yes, exactly. And that was to me. That was like, oh yeah, that is logical for them to have sex and enjoy it or whatever, right? So anyway,
it's just that we get stunned. We forget because we watch all these episodes with these same Vulcans,
the same two,
and they're both when it comes to sex, it's weird, right? When it comes to sex, they're so like just closed off and like, just old school about it, right? Like it's easier to do it this way so you don't have to worry about too many You know, being on TV, it's easier to have it that they don't have relationships often. So when they do have it, it's a big deal. You know, because Spock did fall in love with some women in the original series. He did, and then he kind of had to say goodbye because you know, there's always a reason he couldn't settle down with them. You know, duty came first, right? It was always duty comes first. Duty comes first.
Duty and logic, yes.
Duty and logic, right? We always get stuck with those Vulcans, right? Because they don't want to. They just never felt comfortable showing back then. I think they're more comfortable with it now, but the people that were doing Trek back then, the Berman years, I would say, they just were never comfortable showing Vulcans being in romantic relationships.
Oh, yeah. I think that's true, yeah. Shall we go to the Rose stuff now?
All right, let's do it.
So this is earlier on in the episode, but we got to lead into this. We get Riker transferring command back to Shaw since he's now improved. They've talked about facing the music. I think Picard even says that line to some degree. And then Shaw informs them that he's already contacted Starfleet, and they're sending a ship out now.
Snitch.
I know, right? It's like Shaw is still Shaw.
He's still Shaw.
And I love him for it. I love him. But the big surprise of this episode was the appearance of now Commander Ro Laren as the security officer for the Intrepid who arrives there to arrest Picard and Riker for treason.
What?
Yeah.
And in the book, she became a commander as well.
Oh, really?
In DS9, yeah. What they did was the same deal in the books was eventually she served her time, you know, being part of the Maquis. And then she came out, she was able to serve, and she wound up being the security officer on Deep Space Nine. This was after the finale of Deep Space Nine. So it was, Kira was pretty much the captain of the Deep Space Nine, and she had a new CO, and then she had, and then that security, Ensign Ro was security.
That's kind of funny considering that Ro was supposed to be the character that
that's why they did it.
Transferred over to Deep Space Nine. Yeah.
That's exactly why they did it.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, wait, one little thing. You know, we talked about the ships before, the Titan especially. What did you think of the design of the Intrepid with that little, I don't know, bulbous secondary hull at the bottom? It's like this little, almost like a little ball underneath it.
I know.
That's like, weird, right?
Why did they do that?
I think they just like to design new and different starships, and
I know they've been playing with that, like to give them a big bottom, give them a weird, you know, don't make it completely disc shaped. Kind of change that. They played with that somewhat.
I just think that there's too many starship classes. They you know, I get it. It makes total sense that, you know, they want to play around with it, not have it just look like the Enterprise or this ship or that ship. But it's like, would an organization really design that many different classes of starships? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense organizationally to me.
I know. This is what happens when you do shows later on. They're like, well, this would be a nice call. You know, call out for this. And
we do though. Well, like I said, we find out that it's Ro, and she's not using the transporters because that comes into it later. She's on the shuttle to come over and talk to them, and we get pissy Picard back because he is not having Ro for 1 second.
Yes, this is petty old man Picard that I like to see, and because he can be that way. Especially when it comes to anybody not, you know, being loyal to Starfleet, what he considers to be loyal to Starfleet.
Did that whole conversation or the situation between Picard and Ro remind you of Cisco and Eddington?
Yes, for sure.
It's almost like a repeat of that. Oh,
for sure. Yeah, this is most definitely like you're not You're not getting why there's a gray area for this, and and Picard, same thing. He's not understanding why. Like,
Given Shaw's beratement of Picard in the previous episode, the sins of my past situation, you would think that Picard, and not only that, but also just how Picard's dealing with Jack and that situation, you'd think he'd be a tad more self-aware regarding Ro.
or you'd be the opposite, because I think he really, he doesn't like when his projects don't work. Like, all his projects have pretty much worked, right? Like, Worf was a project for him that worked.
Data.
Data was a project for him that, for the most part, it worked out.
Or was working out, yeah.
Or was working out. Wesley was something that didn't work out, and that bothered him, right? That's something that made him feel a certain kind of way. So we get precedence for that, right? It does, like, he doesn't mention Wesley, right? Like, there's almost like a resentment, and that you can go with why he doesn't mention Wesley. Like, even fondly in conversations, he doesn't mention Wesley at all.
I tell you what, that's probably the greatest sin of this season, not to involve Will Wheaton.
Yeah, I would say
as
that.
Wesley Crusher. I would have preferred they would have not given us that little tidbit in the
I don't
second
think they
season.
thought it through. I really don't think they
I'm
thought
sure,
it through.
yeah.
And that's why it happened the way we got it.
But yeah, we get this, like I said, grumpy old man Picard, just poking at Ro.
Yeah, like it's his it's a daughter, it's a father-daughter.
Yes,
right?
thank you.
Like,
yes. So that was one of my notes was that Jack isn't Picard's only kid in this situation. No.
Oh no.
That came across to me like a father-daughter situation for sure.
That's why it hurt him so much.
Yes. And they even have that great conversation in 10 Forward because Ro, I can't remember what the pretense was, but she takes Picard out of the conference room that they're in when they have that first exchange.
Right.
And I forget now what it was. Anyway, they get to where the holodeck is, and is that where she pulls the phaser on him and says, "Okay, let's go in here."
Right.
And Picard thinks that there's something up with her. She thinks maybe there's something up with him. We find out later. But then they have that real intense conversation.
I don't think you get, like, I always looked at Picard and Ro as like, this is what happens when you adopt a child of a different race and you don't understand that there are, like, for him, Starfleet is the race. That is his race. That's it. That's all he knows. Like, it's easy to be that way. You're from Earth, right? That's your world. But she's not from Earth. She didn't grow up that way. And race did play a part in what made her the person she was. And you had the nerve to ask her, along with Starfleet, to pretty much set up other people of her race.
Yeah.
Like, and this wasn't just
betray her own kind. Yeah.
Betray her own kind. And race, this is when race actually makes sense because she is an Earthling, right? She is of another race, actually, being Bajoran. But not only that, but the Bajorans were enslaved. So you're asking me to go after my people who have just come out of being unfairly. It's not like the Bajorans came out and attacked the Cardassians. No, they just were attacked for existing.
Yeah.
And you came at her and told her that she would have to go after them and take them down. Like, and to not understand that's, like the impact that would have on somebody who's going through something like that. And she grew up out of slavery. So to come out of that and not understand why she did what she did, if anyone has the reason, if there's any reason I would understand for joining the Maquis, it's definitely Ro. Like, when editing did it, he did it because he just wanted to be, he knew he would never be more than security, right? So part of it was he just wanted to be a hero. And he would never be great. He would never be the great hero that a Kirk, Picard, Cisco would be. He just couldn't. He just couldn't. He never was in situations where he would ever be more than who he was. And that's why he did what he did.
Mm-hmm.
He was privileged. He came from privilege and was just like, I want to be the hero of the story. And he thought the easiest way for me to be the hero of the story is to join the Maquis.
Well, and isn't it just occurred to me, and I don't know if this has ever been talked about on Star Trek within Star Trek itself, but the irony of of Starfleet, the Federation fighting against the Borg, who want to take you into the collective and make everything the same.
Yeah,
and to compare that to the Federation and Starfleet and the Maquis, the people who don't want to.
Kira had to call them on that. There were many arguments Kira has had over the course, especially in the beginning seasons, where she was like, why would we want to go from being subjugated by one race to being subjugated by another? Even though you tell us you're giving us, you're doing it for our best interest, but isn't that what they all say?
Helping them along, yeah. Yeah, so I totally agree with you. I mean, the fact that Picard's upset with Ro for quote unquote betraying him and the Federation and Starfleet and all that is just laughable.
Yeah, it totally is.
But they do they talk through it, and then they have this little moment where Picard he realizes and he says, you broke my heart.
Yeah.
And it's not about the politics. It's not necessarily about a betrayal of an oath, a Starfleet oath.
Yeah.
It's
she did time. She had to go to jail. Like she was like put in prison, right? And had to earn her way out. And the first thing you have the nerve to say, and you pretty much disowned her. And the first thing you have to say to her is, I broke your heart. Wow. As you sat on your little vineyard, Well,
and she reveals that she turned herself into Starfleet.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they came after her and captured her.
No.
She's like, okay, once the whole Maquis thing was done, then she's like, she did exactly what Picard would counsel her to do or want her to do.
It was only about, that's what I mean by, I'm sorry, but I feel the Maquis were right. Like, we learned that from the Dominion War that they were. She only wanted to stop the Cardassians from hurting more Bajorans. That's it. This wasn't a revenge thing. This wasn't some power fantasy that she had. And when it was done, and there was no need for the Maquis, because they, they had killed so many of them. But when that battle was over, that's it. She turned herself in.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to be in Starfleet. She could have said F Starfleet. Like, they don't have to. She didn't have to have a job in Starfleet to survive. She could have went on and did something else.
That's what I mean. Picard just is. He's not very self-aware of certain things, and I totally get it because it's emotional and
it's the Raffi problem. Yep. Also, it's the Raffi problem. Like, not everybody came from the same experiences he does, and sometimes he has a harder time. It seems to be like the closer they are to him, he has a blind spot. But when it's strangers, he seems to be understanding.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And how many times of us have been in those situations, right? Where your parents are more forgiving for your friend or somebody doing something. And when you even thought about doing something like that, they'd be all over you. You just know. But, or with your grandkids, right? Your parents are a lot easier forgiving with your grandkids than they are with you.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah. You ever thought of doing some of the stuff your kids do with your parents? You'd be like, what? I'd still be on punishment.
Yeah. But at least, like I said, they had this moment, you broke my heart and you broke mine, she says.
I love it, man.
And they can trust each other.
And even the look of almost tears in her eyes.
Oh my God.
She is so good. She's
Forbes
she's such a great actor.
I have loved her before she was on Star Trek. I can't remember
Yes.
where I first saw her, but I was like, she's amazing.
She is just an amazing actress, man. She
Yeah.
just she's always been so strong. She wears stuff in her eyes, like they're like just in the eyes and the face. She knows how to play it.
Yeah.
When she's in a scene, and you got. I mean, Patrick Stewart is no schlub, right? But she makes you level up. That's another thing where I always enjoyed about watching the character of Vincent Rowe with Picard, because there's certain actors that make him level up, like that make him have to dance
Mm-hmm.
when they perform, and she does that for him. Like you could tell they love it, and I just wish they had gotten more time. I wish she'd always come back or something. Like they did something more with her character and him.
So Ro, once the veil has been dropped and they realize they can trust each other, this is when she confirms for us what we've been hearing all along through this season, is that she believes that changelings have infiltrated Starfleet in all levels, replacing key personnel. She's convinced there are more on the Intrepid. She can't trust the ship's captain, she says, and she doesn't trust the transporters. And when I first saw this, or she's explaining this, and we see this, what happens in this episode regarding the shuttle that they brought over, I thought, oh well, this is just a plot contrivance,
right?
For something that happens that we'll talk about. But it actually turns out to be foreshadowing for something that we'll talk about in a future episode, which I thought, now I think, wow, that was pretty brilliant. So, and then Ro decides, I forget now, Darrell, do you remember, why did she decide to, I remember. Confirm this for me. She decides she's going to go back to the Titan, and she's going to buy them time. She's left. So they basically have taken most of the crew off of the Titan.
Yeah, this is how they kind of, I don't know, it makes you feel like they're like, oh, this is how you save money. You take the crew, you take some of the actors off, right? And this is how they explain it. They're transferring the crew over, right? So you let them take the less, what do you call it when they're the ensigns, right? You assume it'd be like more of the ensigns and stuff. You take them
the non-essentials.
The non-essentials. You take them over back to the to the ship, to the other, to the ship she came on, and then from there she'll stall, right, to give them time to get away. That was the plan.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
And she knew, probably more than that. Probably they know, like by not taking Picard, like when she decided to not take Picard, and she told those two officers that she wasn't going to take him. That's, she knows that she's probably dead.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So yeah, they do that. And then we get the scene. So she's on the shuttle. It's been sabotaged, and we find out that the two officers that were with her are changelings. Which, she was right. Ro was right.
She was right.
And she can't. There's no. They can't beam her off. And so she pilots the shuttle to the Intrepid's, one of the Intrepid's nacelles, and the shuttle blows up, giving them a chance to escape. And of course, she had already told Picard, "You need to go. You need to fix this." Essentially. That was so. How did you take that sacrifice, that scene, that moment with Ro?
Wow, I have to say I was pissed.
Yeah,
that was fun. My first reaction was I was pissed. Like for me, I'd be like, I want her alive at the end of this. And I thought it would have been cool to have her with Worf and Raffi, because that was the connective tissue.
Right. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, exactly. Have them go do their thing.
Right.
Continue to do their thing, and then Picard and the others would do their thing.
This is probably, if we've gotten like 15 episodes, we could have had something like that.
Plus we haven't really had a a sacrifice
No,
yet. And so
that is
we're halfway through now,
right.
and we get the first sacrifice. And it's, of course, it's a character that was on the Next Generation for several episodes.
Mm-hmm. And they reconcile, so that means you're good.
That's true.
Right. There's no conflict is over kind of thing.
Narratively, that just is great storytelling because,
and he still didn't forgive her yet. Like, I mean, even with this, he was still judgmental. Like, he still was
until the end.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that they say to, or Rose says to Picard, is that you never saw my heart or something, or you never saw me.
He didn't. He didn't, because he would have never asked her to do this. Because even Riker had said at one point in that episode where her last episode as Ensign Ro before this, like, I don't know if that's a good idea to put her in a situation like this. Like, right? And Picard was just like, oh no, number one. This is, she's a Starfleet officer. She will do as she's told, kind of thing. Like, but you have to be like, yo, Picard, they're human though. Like, these people, not, like, it's hard to say human when everybody's aliens, right? But they're living beings with feelings, right? They're not just robots that don't feel anything.
Mm-hmm.
And, Riker kind of understood that more than Picard, because Riker was able to have a family, right? Picard kind of, Picard could be so set in his ways about things. We know his background, so we get it. So he still didn't understand. He still just sat there on this whole, she should have did what I told her to do. Like a parent that's just not hearing their kid, right?
But at least he does at the end, right before
she did the most Starfleet thing you could ever do, and that's the conflict. He didn't get that she was someone dedicated to Starfleet.
Yeah,
but Starfleet isn't always right. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
She was, but the problem with him is, like, and he should have learned his lesson with the whole thing with the Romulans, right? Where Starfleet went against its principles, right? By not helping the Romulans. So you would think when this came up, but again, how many times have we said, do as I say and not as I do?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so he just didn't see it until she sacrificed herself just to give them time to get away.
Yeah. I mean, he even says before she ultimately does sacrifice herself that he sees her.
Yeah. He said he never saw her until this moment, I think, something like that.
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. So at least there's a finality to their conflict.
Yeah. Well, that was his, I'm an old fool. Right? That was his scene of being like, I am an old fool. Sitting on my little principles.
He has a lot of these. He had that same realization about Jack in that flashback. He realized, that was that kid that asked me that question all those years ago. Mm-hmm. And now he has it with Ro, and he had it with Riker. It's just like, the older he's getting, even though he has a positronic brain now, the older he gets, the less aware, I think maybe is the right term, he is of these relationships and situations that he's in with these other people.
Right. When they could get you, the first time one of your kids ever said, debated with you on something and they were right. Right.
Mm.
It's an amazing feeling when you look at this, this person that wasn't alive when you were, like there was a time this person was not even alive. And now they are able to not only come up with the situation and think about it and, and talk to you about it and come up with a point that you have not even thought of, right? You think you'd be on we've run the earth long enough. Us old heads, we think we know everything. Sometimes we do get caught up in that. And then for somebody younger to explain, to hit you with a thing of logic that goes, wow, they're absolutely right.
Yes. Yeah, it's funny you say that because I recently had a situation with my daughter in which she opened my eyes to something that I was not even really aware of.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
she's 20 years younger than I am. And she's
Hmm.
like, she was just amazing in that moment.
Yeah. That's the thing with daughters too. Like there's an insight that they have, right? Being uh, female that we don't have that. And so they can come at a situation and be like, and hit you with something, and you're like, oh my God, that is so right. I never even thought of it that way,
Yeah.
right? There's so much you can learn from them,
Yes.
when we listen,
And
right?
to bring it back to the episode. I mean, that is that again,
It hit
that's that
him.
father-daughter
It
relationship
hit him so
analogy.
hard. Like when he looked at Riker, he was hurt.
Yeah.
Like, I sat on these stupid principles for all these years, and we could have reconciled years ago.
Yes. The regret. Yeah. Yeah,
That
exactly.
regret. Yeah.
And he had a much fuller relationship with Ro, regardless of the situation,
Mm-hmm.
than he's had with Jack so far.
Yeah.
So I almost kind of wish they would have played up that whole father-daughter angle just a little bit more.
The thing again, 10 episodes. We
Yeah,
only
that's
get
true.
10.
Very
Even if
true.
we got 13, we could have did a little bit more, right? We
Yeah.
only get 10. That's the problem of these shortened, it's a good thing in a lot of times, but also a bad thing in terms of sometimes these stories could use a little bit of room
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
kind of do a little bit more than that. And we'll never get that, right? We'll never get those
That's true.
conversations that we could have had if they had gotten an episode or two to work together, right? If she died, even if they still killed her later,
Yeah.
we still could have got a little bit,
Exactly. That's all I was wanting was like,
little bit more.
one more
Mhm.
centric episode between the two of them. And,
Yeah,
and
we
yeah,
could
that
have
would have
got a
been,
little bit more.
but at least they still did a great job of exploring that dynamic after
Right.
all these years of the two characters and the actors being apart and then coming together to tell this
If
wonderfully.
they didn't do a good job with this, then we wouldn't care that she came
Exactly.
back and she died, right? We wouldn't
Precisely.
even be talking about it. We'd be like, oh, yeah, it was a nice little cameo.
Yes,
you know.
exactly. Michelle Forbes did not come back for just a quick cameo.
No, when
and so
she
that's
is
awesome.
gone, when that ship blows, it affects it quieted the room for me. Like
Mhm.
it just the impact of the story just hit me from watching it. Like that's how good it was.
Yeah. Yeah. That was so. Who? It begs the question now.
Mm.
What other characters from Star Trek: Next Generation's past are we going to see in
Yeah,
the remaining
that's the
episodes?
thing, right?
So that'll be fun to explore as we get to that.
Will they be cameos, or will they just
Exactly.
or will they have impact? Right. That's the thing.
Yeah. So I think we're just about done with this, but we do need to talk a little bit more about the changelings.
Yes.
Beverly is doing an autopsy on the changeling that Seven killed
Mm-hmm.
in the previous episode. Is that right, or is this? I'm forgetting. Yes, it is. Because they were still escaping the nebula.
Did we get to Jack doing his thingy?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about that next, but I want to start with the changelings. So yeah, we find out changelings are a little different. They're not. There's no DNA, but they're able to mimic blood and organs, and until they get down to like destroying the matter down at the very small level. So and basically, the revelation is that anybody can be a changeling. They can't tell.
Right. Which
so
is like,
no more blood tests.
Yeah. How do you do this? Yeah. How do you get through this? How do we stop them now?
So it just and that was explained even before Ro, I think, talked to Picard about the changeling infiltration in Starfleet.
Yeah, Beverly. Yeah, because they had cut to like Beverly was learning this stuff while he was talking to Ro, and then we get it after they reconciled.
And then, like you were saying, Jack, because they're the changelings, so they beamed off of the shuttle back onto the Titan, changed into different forms because they're still after Jack.
Yeah.
They're still after the asset. And so they actually do run into him just kind of out of the blue. He's walking down the corridor and there they are. And they're about ready to transport him over. And then we get a new thing with Jack. It's not just that he has these visions and the red door and the tendrils or whatever.
Yeah, he becomes Jason Bourne.
Yes, exactly. That's great. Yeah, he suddenly his eyes flash red, and then he takes out. Well, there's more than two.
4 of them.
Yeah, there's 4 of them, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, he takes them out Jason Bourne style.
He dodged laser blasts. I'm like, how do you dodge phaser fire? You could do that too? I was like, what the hell is going on with this dude?
Oh, speaking of phaser blast, sorry, a little aside. Do you miss the single stream phasers like we used to have, or are you okay with the bullet like?
It's fine, but there's just nothing as great as seeing those phaser, coming at in a battle. I love the phaser fire stuff. I always love that stuff.
Yeah.
It's science fiction. That's the point, right?
Yeah.
I don't want it to be. If I wanted to look at people shooting guns at each other, I just watch regular shows.
Well, I guess we could thank J.J. Abrams for that, huh?
Yeah.
Anyway, so Jack is able to take out 4 changelings because of whatever this is. So it's not it's like I said, it's not just him having these visions. Now they're actually affecting him, making him do things that he could not normally do. So what does that mean?
We still don't know. Very strange, and he's still not really telling anybody.
Well, it's funny you say that, because so this whole time where he's having these visions, that we're seeing Jack have these visions, I'm like, why isn't he talking to his doctor mom about all this stuff? But to their credit, they do have a scene with Jack and Beverly
finally,
and he I think they end the episode with him about to reveal some of this information. And we do find from Beverly talking about how he has been affected. His sleep has been affected since he was a boy.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been going on longer than we think.
Right.
Or that we thought here.
Another clue that this is not something that just happened to him.
Exactly. So yeah, it's like they're layering on the mystery little bit by little bit. And I'm loving it.
Yeah, I like it.
All right. I think I've gone through most of my notes, Darrell. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on?
I do have to go back to just the Roe thing with where she tells him that she wished they had known each other. And when she teared up when she said that, and the exchange of the earring, because the whole thing when she first came on the ship, the Enterprise, many moons ago, is that she would wear the earring the wrong way. Shush, boy. It's okay. She would wear the earring the wrong way to be like defiant in a way, right? About the dress code. And that was, I always kind of thought that was so not Starfleet to tell people that they couldn't wear religious jewelry from their planet when Starfleet is supposed to be about, our differences being together. Like, why would they take that away from you? They even let Worf wear the sash. So why would that be a big deal?
Good point. Yeah.
So that always kind of so it was a thing to bring that back and have it where he didn't even catch what she was doing when she did it. At first, he just thought it was just her giving him that, this was something that mattered to her, and, sharing that with him when she's saying goodbye. And it didn't click what she was really doing.
Yeah. Which was, and again, Riker coming in to save the day. Yeah. He recognizes it immediately because
right away.
The earring is holding all this data. Her entire investigation is all the files are in that earring. So so now they have more information about what's going on.
Right, right. Again, because Picard is not looking at it from a father's eyes, right? He doesn't have that baggage with her.
Uh, See, now here I was just thinking that that whole thing about not seeing her, and
No, Riker.
he can't see past what that earring symbolized to her back then.
Right. Riker
To
saw her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Riker saw her. Like, even remember the last time she was a Starfleet officer is when she was with Riker. And when she told Riker she was sorry, and to tell Picard, he got it.
Yeah, didn't Riker even say to Picard in this episode, is like, because Picard was just going off on Ro, and Riker was like, that was 20 years ago.
Yeah, he's like, even in that exchange, he was like, yeah, she did break the rules, but he understood why she did it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're just too caught up in your, and how you wanted her to be your perfect soldier, right? You wanted her to be your perfect Starfleet officer. Like, that was your project. Like, you put her together, but you forgot there's someone inside that might not agree with everything that you agree with, right?
Yeah.
And so Riker saw her. Like, he always he got it. He understood why, and he wasn't angry when they left. Like that, I always thought that was a cool thing with Riker, is that he was able to. He is not so rigid. That's the difference with Riker. He's not as rigid as Captain as Picard is, right?
Yes.
He kind of understands more with people, and he learned that. He learned that when he lost Deanna, right? Being so rigid, he learned that from that loss, and I think that's something that stuck with him for being that dude.
Mm-hmm.
That always like, I'm right about everything, and I'm a Starfleet officer, and that's all that matters. And then he had to kind of grow up, and he kind of learned, there's Starfleet, yes, but there's also more, to life than just that, and and that's why he's been more, I think, open with people, and he's had the relationships he's had.
I think we're 5 episodes in, and I'm saying right now, Riker is the MVP of this series.
He's up there. I think, I think he's up there.
We'll have to revisit that perhaps.
Yeah,
as we go along.
He always, when I see him, I'm like, damn, why don't you act more?
Yeah.
Like, I know you direct a lot, but I'm like, it's a shame, because he's also a very good actor. So it's like we are missing out on not having more of, his performances in front of the screen.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'm not art. Like, I could go with you on that. Like, I definitely could. I have to get to the end though before I could say.
Oh yeah, for sure.
How I feel, but for now, it's like, it's just he's doing some great stuff with his character.
Anything else on Ro?
Only that I hate all of you that came to the decision to kill her character off. And I will miss that character tremendously.
Yeah.
So there's that, but they did some amazing work with just a short amount of time on this episode. She's
and a small amount of screen time for the character. Yeah.
Yeah, people are jogging. She is doing a sprint. Like, she is like she just is that good. Like, it didn't take her a lot. She didn't have to get a lot of material, but what she did in just that small amount of time, with the impact, is felt throughout the entire episode.
Yeah, I can almost forgive Terry Matalas and the production staff for not just for that, but just revisiting old Star Trek tropes and whatnot. We talked about the Star Trek 2 connections,
right,
and all that stuff. It's just like they keep the nostalgia aspect of it, I guess. But this was more than that. It was a definite continuation
Mm-hmm.
of the character and the relationship between the two characters.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just look, it's nice to see, like you said, a cameo. It was nice to see that character. Oh, hi, how you doing? It had a lot of resonance to it, and I really appreciate.
Yeah, it really did.
All right. Any last words, Darrell?
No, I think we have done our diligence in these 2 episodes, and I'm ready for next one to discuss the next 2 because it's crazy.
Yes, it gets from here. It just they really ramp it up, don't they?
They do. Yes, they do.
So I'm looking forward to talking to you about that.
Me too.
Okay, well, thank you again, Darrell, for joining me on this quest to talk about Star Trek Picard season 3 as the episodes go along. It continues to be a lot of fun, and
I love it.
I hope it's that way for our listeners as well.
Me too.
But you don't just talk about Star Trek with me. You also talk about a lot of other things. Where can they find you to listen to you talk about DC Comics and other popular media things and other things that you have?
Well, you can hear me on DC All Stars to talk about all things DC, new stuff and past, with my co-host Hassan and Peter. And also on Gotham by Geeks, you can hear us talk about the world of Batman on that podcast. And for TV and movies, just in general, you can hear me with my co-host, my very funny co-host, Donnie Salvo, the comedian, where we have a lot of fun talking all that stuff. So yeah, you can check all that stuff out on the Taylor Network of Podcasts.
And I've got, of course, I have links in the show notes for that website, and also for how you can contact Darrell on Twitter and whatnot. And people can always send feedback and contact me by sending email to longboxreview@gmail.com. And all those contact links are also in the show notes. So if you decide you'd like to, give me a call or send me a text message, then all that information is in the show notes as well as the website. And with that, thanks for listening. And Darrell and I will talk Star Trek Picard Season 3 again very soon.